Right. Hey everyone, Luke and Pyjams here again to talk about the latest match of manga chapters. A bit early today, but that's all right. I hope we can make it entertaining enough for it being early.
Yeah, hey guys. So, yeah, the chapters I think as a whole were okay. They weren't too mind blowing this week. I think weirdly enough, I mean, I haven't read everything yet, just the chapters we're going to talk about. But so far, I think Yozakura probably has my vote. But
Yeah,
a lot more to read.
yeah, I was thinking that as well. Even though it wasn't as good as the last two chapters, it was still a pretty entertaining chapter. Although I did find Witch Watch quite good as well.
Yeah, I mean, like there weren't too many, well, too many like very bad chapters, but there were more average to somewhat concerning chapters this week
Yeah,
than usual. And even like
uh,
the best chapters were just slightly better than normal rather than, mind blowing like we had last. But again, there's still some series I still have to read, so maybe I'll change my mind later in the day.
yeah, and also, hey, Blazing Boy, for Boyo, Akane and Superphone were amazing. Superphone, I didn't really find that amazing. If I'm being honest, it was just,
Uh,
it was just more of like introducing like the concept of other people using smartphones.
and I haven't read the chapter yet, but I will later. But Akane, even that one, I thought, well, maybe we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah, yeah.
But even I didn't find that not like a bad chapter. I think Okana only has like one or two chapters I have issues with, but even then, those are very minor issues. This one just wasn't as good as I think other Akane chapters.
Okay, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Um, but I think we best just start off with Ayashimon. Let's just get that one out of the way.
Fair. I mean, Blazing Boy himself said it, the bye bye, and starting to get those vibes.
Yeah, as soon we'll get into it. We'll get into it in a bit. In a bit. Blazing Boy with Ayashi. Wow, already with hot takes, are we? Yeah, pretty much. Uh, what now? All right, yeah. Let's just get into the chapter itself with Ayashimon. So yeah, pretty much it's gone down the Red Hood path. If people want to know what I was thinking of here when I first saw it, I was like, oh no, 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 no! They're doing it. They're doing the Red Hood thing.
Yeah, and for those who may not have read Red Hood, effectively, like the series just went extremely meta this chapter. And I will say, there are series that have used meta concepts extremely well, like Fire Force. But I think even with Fire Force or the Axe Red Hood, I think this is slightly going in the more this is not a good idea direction.
Yeah. Because to start off the chapter, it basically starts off in a manga studio, where we have the which was surprising to me. I was like, wait, what? What's going on here? And then you turn to the next page and you realize exactly what's going on. They're talking about manga with the line focus of the whole forearm, and that may seem like a tiny detail now, but Precious pen control is useful in all the work. Basically, going over the standard for works, but then it's the reveal of, hey Sensei, when will this manga be published? And they say July, I think. No, it would have been July of last year because it would have been too short. But basically, it's they're talking about the Ayashimon manga.
Yeah, and at first I was when I saw a manga being drawn, I thought we were getting a new character or something because Jujutsu Kaisen recently had a mangaka character in there, and Undead Unluck has done a mangaka character in the past. So I thought that's what we were getting, but then, like Luke said, once you get to the last panel of the second page, you're like, oh no, is this it? Is this it for the
Yeah.
series? Especially when you get to the next part of the next page where they kind of talk about Maru as a character and what his motivations are, and
Yes.
the
Oh,
worst part is the fact that they say, "Oh man, this kind of philosophy is going to get him killed." And he's like, "Yeah, that's kind of the point. He's going to die in a blazing glory, like Jonathan Joestar." I don't know
oh.
who Joe Yabuki is.
Uh, Joe Yabuki. Joe Yabuki.
And yeah, Blazing by Fire Force, great meta story. I also really enjoy Bravely Default has a slightly meta story as well. That's a video game series though, rather than
Oh,
manga.
yeah. Joe Yabuki is the protagonist of Ashito no Joe, which is like a boxing manga. It's a
Oh,
boxing manga.
wow, that's pretty dark. A boxer died. Sheesh.
Yeah, I kind of had a feeling it was that because of the main character from Bakuman. He stated that that was his favorite manga.
Oh, interesting. Um, yeah. Anyway, so then I guess also we can probably say this is the actual mangaka speaking to us because he's saying he didn't let his last protagonist die, but this time he's thinking about it.
So
But then we get the weird.
wait, they've just spoiled Hell's Paradise. We know that the main character's going to survive then.
I mean, yeah, but I don't know if like I'd say if a character dying is more of a spoiler than a character surviving, in my opinion, just because you're more likely to expect a character to survive and move on rather than perish in some way.
Okay,
Um,
fair enough.
I mean, I guess you could say it maybe takes away from the tension that the character is going to die, but I don't know. I usually don't expect that, but I haven't read Hill's Paradise yet, but we'll see. Met someday. But then the weird part is he also brings up the fact that the character of Maru apparently is supposed to be modeled after the mangaka himself. And then we start seeing Maru confusing himself with the mangaka, and I get so confused at this point because
Yeah,
Maru is talking to like an editor now,
yeah.
and I'm not sure how much of this is a dream and how much of this is real until he
I
wakes up in the third page, or
yeah.
not wakes up, but we see the reality in the, or
I
sorry, six.
think. Uh, what was I gonna say? Oh, I've lost my train of thought here of what I was actually gonna say. Um, so yeah, we have. It turns out on page 6 of the manga that of 6 of the chapter that Maru has been knocked unconscious from Tamagawa's attack. Oh no, that's what I was gonna say. I've remembered what I was gonna say. Yeah, I feel like this is the author's way, because you know how Tamagawa, his ability was that the more he stayed as Dopo, the closer he was to becoming Dopo, and he's now effectively become Dopo. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that I think this is kind of what's happening the same way with Maru. It's getting so meta that he's actually going to become the mangaka of the actual story itself.
Hmm. Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Well, we'll
that's what
see.
was. Well, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, we have everyone saying tomorrow you better wake up, and Coulter says that the black liquid is Hidamara's secret ability, which is called Yobamasu, and they call up this black water that engulfs only the light of life. The stuff doesn't affect anything else and just only living things, but it's a super secret ability that even Dopo himself can only use ever once. Period. So I guess he's already used this ability, Dopo, if they're aware of it.
Yeah, I guess so. Either that, or I think the way they phrase it is this is a ability unique to the species of Ayashimon, and so they are aware of the species being able to use it and the rules behind it. That's how I interpreted it.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
if it was the fact that Dopo already used it, that kind of takes away, because I think the point is that when we fight the real Dopo, um, if we get to that,
Yeah, if we ever
then
get to that.
yeah, if we get to that, then this is like going to be his ace in the hole, and then Maru is like anticipating it.
I
But
guess so.
that's at least how I interpreted it.
Yeah. So we have continue on by saying, "Oh, Tamagawa has enough ego that he'll probably figure he could control it, but he couldn't." Okay, I did like that. I did like that line. Like he has such a big ego. It's like I could be just like Dopo. No, you can't. Damn it.
Yep, and it's kind of funny that it worked out that way. I mean, it might have worked a bit more if we knew a little more on this character to like
Yeah.
understand his ego, but it's fine. They kind of have to like rush through this part of the story now.
Yeah, to kind of like, okay, we've got to get to Dopo, which is pretty much what they say here, because it's like, okay, we can't afford to worry about the ritual Jew anymore. We've got to stop it from we've got to rescue Maru. So they're basically like saying like, yeah, everything's going to crap. We're gonna abandon the jewel. we got to keep moving this train along. So they go to attack Tamagawa, but he just blasts everyone away, blasts members of the Todoroki Alliance away, so that they become coins themselves. And second in command, what was his name again? I doesn't say.
Obero.
Pardon.
Obero. They do say it later, but yeah.
Obero. So he tries to escape himself, but of course Tamagawa grabs a hold of him, and everyone else is escaping, go into the lobby, and then we cut back again to the dream thing,
hallucination thing.
Hallucination.
I think it's supposed to be like a near-death experience or something. But that's
I guess, but it's the and I guess it makes sense for Morrow to have this kind of near-death experience, like he's an actual mangaka.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could interpret it as, if a character dies in a fictional world, their version of heaven or meeting God would be meeting the mangaka, right?
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of what they're trying to do here. And also just like they're trying to say that the idea of the protagonist dying in this would be one way for a character to go out, but Maru's having his character development moment here.
Yeah. Because hurry up and kill off the protagonist, let him go out like a true main character. Last time I checked, that didn't happen to Senku.
Yeah, it really didn't. I mean, Senku, if anything, defied death constantly.
he did. And I've just got to say here, so is this so if we're going to interpret like this is the author's way of saying like the only way for a character to be a true main character is if they kill them off, are we going to ignore all the slice of life series that come, all the action series that don't kill off the main characters, all the comedy series that don't do that? Are they not true main characters?
Well, I mean, the next page kind of goes in to say that true protagonist fights for others and whatnot. So I think, or I should say page 13. Page 13, like Maru's going on about how he doesn't want to die in a fight. He wants to fight for others. So I think that that's the message of the chapter.
Okay. Okay, a very cliched message, but all right.
Yeah,
I guess we'll take it. So yeah, like you said, he started to remember that no, it's not just about fighting. It's about protecting people and becoming the real hero, like Uru, Ten, Colton, and the rest of the Todoroki Alliance. And he realizes that he was alone for so long and he didn't really have this before, but now it's different. He's not alone, as we see everyone running to support him, and they're like, "Oh Maro, you're awake," and he's like, "Yeah, I'll be fine, elder sister. I'll just need to join a manga now." But yeah, Uru says, I thought you were dead. Don't make me worry about that." And he's like, "Yeah, come on, I'm not gonna die, not until we've reached your goal." And everyone's happy about this. And one of the Todoroki Alliance mentions that if a human dies, you won't ever get to see them again, no matter how many centuries you wait. We miss you. So that's a kind of like, I guess a little touching moment there, but at the same time, again, it's from people that we don't know anything about.
Yeah, true.
I mean,
But
if it was from Koton, that would have been a lot more impactful.
I guess so. But I guess Kotan has to give the rest of the speech
Yeah,
about making a plan to stop Tamagawa. So
yeah. So it all boils down to that. Um, Oboro and the security ladies are keeping him busy, but if they don't do something, he will kill them and everyone else. And Maru thinks back on his training with touching the element of fire, and he mentions that, oh, the training old man Usura had me do, the one where I pulled chestnuts out of the fire. Uh, he thinks that he could do something like that here and yank Tamagawa out of Dopo and bring him back to his senses. And they question, like, oh, is this even possible? And they go, oh, the logic works out at least, especially since Maru proved he can punch the flame and manipulate concepts a minute ago. But they don't see him politely holding don't see Tamagawa politely holding still and letting him do that, which is why he needs everyone to pull this plan off. And yeah, that's where the chapter ends. So yeah, this is giving me pretty much, yeah, we're heading for the end game vibes.
I mean, yeah, you have everybody getting together at the end of the chapter and everything. So, yep, it seems like it's not too much longer for Ayashimon.
Yeah, and if the real Dopo appears in the next chapter, then yeah, we're in the final battle already.
Yep. So, yeah, I mean, my biggest thoughts with Ayashimon is, well, I guess it was nice while it lasted.
Yeah, I guess it was. I guess it was, and I think Blazing Boy has the same feeling as well. Uh, it's Epo's daddy, JK. No, I don't think Joe is Epo's daddy. Just because they're boxing manga doesn't mean they're related.
Okay, so if anyone else is in chat, feel free to suggest what we else you guys want to hear us talk about.
Yeah.
But if no one has suggestions, what do you think we should talk about next?
Well, since Blazing Boy brought up Hakane, we can always just move on to talking about that.
Sure, that works.
Yeah. So let me just get it up quickly. Oh, what a coincidence! I put them side to side.
Yeah, probably because they're alphabetical.
Yeah.
Oh, and Blazing Boy suggested Yozakura. We can do that next.
Yeah, we could do that next. We could do that next. So yeah, let me get up Kane. So yeah, I can kind of see why what sort of problems you might have with this. Was it to do with the fact that there wasn't really a Rakugo again, like a big Rakugo performance?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's at least there was a Rakugo performance technically, but yeah, I think chapters without a performance are going to be hard sells for me until like I get really invested in the cast and I'm okay with just the cast members doing stuff, or B, some really incredible narrative twist that happens that even without the story, I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'm okay. This cool new direction. So yeah, I think that is a part of it. I think the other part is just that a lot of this is just establishing this character, which is fine because we needed that. But I don't feel like I understood him too well, and I have some confusion about his motivations and philosophies. But that also might come up later, so it's still not necessarily a problem. But we can talk about that as we read the chapter.
Yeah. Okay. So starts off with it being explained that Kogama is the Shimagawa school's best
Terakoya.
Terakoya, a master of old literary teachings, and he's a former Tokyo University student. So it's nice that we actually establish how old some of these characters are, because when I first saw a few of these characters, like, how old are they?
That is a good question. I mean, obviously they all have to be adults, but how long they've been practicing, I'm not sure. I think they might have told us at some point, but I forgot. I want to say they're in the 20s, but I'm not sure.
It does say in this chapter how old Koji and Kogumi are. It does actually say how old they are.
Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, late 20s.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, and it actually does say how long they've actually been going on for, because it has it that's their ages on page 5.
Yeah, it seems like people start when they're like 18 or 19-ish.
Yeah, yeah,
Like if I did my math right. So that's pretty cool. Like basically like right after high school, they're like, I'm gonna dedicate my life to Rocky.
yeah. So it continues on and explains that he graduated at the top of his class, and he was in the Rokugo club and took part in many competitions, and they're like, let's go and hear what he has to say. I'm sure he'll be helpful. But of course, this being a manga is in that phrase of like, I'm not going to help the main character.
Yeah, which to be fair, we kind of had him say that earlier. But also, as a quick note for anybody watching who might not be familiar, they say Koguma's from Tokyo University, which suggests that, which is like one of the biggest schools in Japan, basically like Ivy Leagues here in the States. So yeah, so he went to a top school and he's really smart. That's kind of the whole gist with that. But I'm also surprised that with all that education, he still was pursuing Rakagoka. So I'm kind of curious how he ended up going that direction, because I feel like we never really got that even for what's his name, Kyoji.
Kyoji, yeah.
Yeah, Kyoji either. So I do hope we at least get it for Koguma, or at least soon down the line we'll get it for all the characters. Maybe they're saving it for some reason.
Yeah, I think they are actually, because there is a panel later on that gives a hint to what might be going on with him. But we'll get into it when we get into it. So I'm just I'm just gonna call him Ani-san. So Ani-san says like, I don't know your reasoning for entering this amateur competition when you've already been accepted here, but I'm just gonna be blunt with you. It's trashy, unacceptable, unbelievable, and baffling. And Akane's like, I didn't think he'd be like this sharp tongued person, and Ani-san says like, your education is Koji's job, not mine. What makes you think he can slack off on his duties? But you do realize that the master did Ani-san, the master did specifically say you're going to learn from all the pupils here at Akane, and that includes Ani-san. So I don't know why he's getting so pissy about him being like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still not sure what his reservations are for teaching. I mean, the other dude was being a weirdo about it, but I forgot what Kodama's like restrictions are. All the same, we see that he apparently is very high on seniority and desiring respect, which I was kind of surprised by.
Yeah. Oh my god! I've just realised who he is. Yeah. If you look at his face, his stoic impression, and how he's high on seniority, he's Yuji from Doron.
Oh, I see what you mean. But with
Yeah.
the glasses. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like he's a little less egotistical than Yuji, surprisingly. And I mean, of course, with Yuji, we see his inner monologue of wanting friends but not being good at it. And Blazing Boy, just so you know, I'll talk about everything he typed up near the end, because I think it'll work near the end of the
Yeah.
chapter.
Yeah, it will. We're not ignoring your comments, Blazing Boy. We're just saving them for the end.
Yep. So going forward, apparently they, like Luke said, they point out their age, saying Koguma is a senior to even Kyoji by like 2 years, it seems.
Yeah.
And so then they try to apologize to him, and Akane tries to win him over by showing a picture of the poster for the cup. And I don't really blame Koguma for being like uninterested in this, because from his perspective, like if this Akane is someone who's going to be joining them soon as like a professional in training, being able to beat a bunch of amateurs, high schoolers should not be hard for her if she's been recognized to this extent. Maybe like a few talented people might pose a challenge, but otherwise, like she should have this in the bag, and it almost feels ridiculous to do it. So I don't blame him. But what I was surprised about is that as soon as he saw Ishio's face, he's like, "Okay, fine, I'll help you," and everyone's surprised.
Yeah, which again, it goes into my the panel that I'm going to be talking about when we get to it, because it does make sense why he had this reaction when you look at that panel when we get to it.
Yeah, and that panel also has some questions for me as well. But anyway, continuing on, they go into the park, and then Koguma asks Akane to show the performance of Jugemu,
Jugemu, yeah.
Jugemu, and because he needs to see it in order to give any sort of feedback, which makes sense. So she immediately starts performing in the park with people running around her. And like they gave us the basic gist of the story, which is that a kid was born and a priest gives a list of names. You could, yeah, the father can name his son. And apparently the dad is like, cool, I'll give him all the names. And so then I'm not even going to read this part, but on page 7, they basically just list Jemu along with a bunch of other Japanese names.
Yeah, and I can imagine
his full name.
And I can imagine it's Jujemu, and then at the end of the names, rather than putting Jujemu like several times, it's just like, yeah, I think they're probably leaving it like, okay, yeah, we know that she's probably meant to say, like with this next name, Q Neru Tokoro ni Suma Tokoro Yabikororo Jinu Barako Jujemu, something like that.
Right. And I mean, I think this is the other issue with this particular chapter for me, is just that the Rakugo performance itself. I mean, the idea that what's his name, Gaku, I think, whatever, he said that the whole way to get the joke for this is the repetition of the name, and being able to enunciate the words and have a good sequence. Basically, it's like saying a funny phrase over and over again at a certain tempo, which conceptually makes sense. My thing with this is I don't speak Japanese. I don't know how to pronounce these words.
No.
Or names. And so therefore I can't appreciate the joke, because this series is really good at tempo and breakups and things like that. But this is probably like the one time, and actually I say it's the one time, but there might be more instances of this in the future. But this might be the one time where it's like I can't get in on the joke because I don't know how to properly read this in order for it to feel hilarious to me. All I get is it's a lot of words string together to make a giant name, but it's like I don't know how to say this, so I'm just skipping over it.
Yeah,
so it doesn't really work for me. It's just like the audience. I guess some kids found it funny because of how fast she's talking. I do admit that the follow up to the name was funny, just because it's like the lump healed on its own because the name took so long. That was kind of funny, I will say. But the name, it's the main humor point of the joke, was one of the things that made this not hit for me, which honestly has me a little worried for this arc, because of course this is the story that surrounds this arc. But yeah, so I just wanted to say that off the bat.
Yeah, fair enough. And yeah, it kind of got lost on me. But now that you point out that she talks so fast, I get the feeling that it's meant that if it that it's more like Jujemu go blah 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 blah, so something like that.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I mean, there are similar jokes in even the English language where if you say a bunch of words string together, but it's said so fast, but it's funny because someone just said a bunch of words so fast and you can still understand it, but it's hilarious how well that all came together. But it doesn't work when you don't know the language. That's
fair. That is fair. That I will give to you. That is fair.
But I don't want to say the chapter wasn't funny at all because again, besides the lump follow up, the follow up after that, where Koguma's like, "Man, I can't believe you just did that in public." It's like,
Yes,
what you told me to? It's like I just meant you like show me a video of you practice.
I know.
Dude, you just embarrassed yourself in front of all these people. But at the same time, I'm like, why are you embarrassed? You're a Rakugoka. This is normal. This is like imagine if you got like embarrassed by like if I asked to see a scene like let's say we met in person and asked you to perform like a short scene for me and I'm like, wow, Luke, I just meant show you a video. You wouldn't be like, oh man, I can't believe I just acted in front of people.
Well, I guess it's more of a case of the location because if she's in like the performance space, then it's fine. But it's kind of like you I can kind of see why she's getting embarrassed myself personally, because personally for me, if people didn't know that I was doing acting and I just started spouting out something like, by the power of Grayskull, I have the power in a park, and people would give me weird looks, I'd be like, I should just go home right now.
Okay. I mean, I think for me it's harder as a non-performer because I've seen, street performers, people perform music. So in my mind, I just equivalate everything and just say, yeah, people perform all the time in public, but maybe it's different.
It's for different circumstances. It's like if they're deliberately like making it so like this is a performance, then it's all right. But like doing it spontaneously out of nowhere, like you'd be like, what is that guy's problem? if people are just casually walking by.
All right, I'll take your word for that. And Blazing Boy, the streetwear is pretty nice. I think, this is just a personal preference. I think Witch Watch is kind of streetwear, and like Kubo's are a little higher on my list than these, but this is still pretty good.
So getting back to the chapter itself, we have Ai-san explained that Jujemu is just a basic fundamental Rakugo. It's basically a beginner's story, and the majority of the audience are already gonna other Rakugo amateurs from the same student clubs as the participants. So most of the audience is basically capable of understanding the story, and they've learned how to master it, and they should know how it sounds, and she'll need to perform the piece twice for the same audience in the preliminary rounds and in the final round. So this raises the question of of if she does get past the preliminary round, is she going to use a different Rakugo?
I don't think so. I think that's part of the challenge that was issued by Shigemuro, his teacher. And I will say, I think this page is probably the best part of the chapter, just because this, I think, really helped establish, why this is a challenge. Because the first chapter, or sorry, I should say the last chapter. Last chapter was just okay, this is just a basic joke, so it's hard to deliver it, so it's all about execution. So I'm like, okay, that's a basic enough idea I can get behind. But this adds a new layer to it when you think about the audience that's incorporated, because this isn't just a casual audience like she's been performing. These are going to be people who have seen lots of Rakugo, as well as studied Rakugo themselves, and has probably practiced this very thing, especially if it's baby's first story, effectively. And so that ups the stakes of trying to get a reaction, because of course for this kind of competition, for someone even at Akane's level, she could probably perform a really unique story in a great way that would do very well, but performing a very basic story for anyone would be a challenge. So I think that this page probably is almost what really still keeps this a good chapter for me. But
okay,
I think than other chapters for the reason I said before, and a few reasons I'll state in the future.
The way I was going to compare it to is it's if you were putting on a theatre show and it was say a Shakespeare show, and it was the same type of people, same people from like different drama groups and everything like know Shakespeare and all of that. It's kind of the same thing with that with this. It's like how do you make it different enough so that it seems fresh in their minds.
Yeah, that's true because I think in a lot of children's TV shows I watched growing up, it's always like Macbeth or Hamlet being acted out, and I'm like, I feel like there are more plays out there than that, but this is always what kids seem to
Yeah, yeah,
be performing. And I think it's a good metaphor because that's probably what this Rakugo performance is for Japan.
yeah.
It's like there's Shakespeare where it's like, yeah, we've seen this 1,000 times. We know the story. At some point, it's just like seeing a slightly different version, but you're not really going to be wowed by it unless there's like really, really good acting or just a really new take or something.
Yeah, and even more amazing, something that I was not expecting is the ending to the original story to Jujumu, and it's that Jujumu actually dies because he goes for a swim, but he gets lost in the river, and the friend that's able to help him tries to call for help, but the name is so long that by the time that help actually comes, Jimu actually dies. So I was like, oh my, that's kind of messed up if you think about it.
It is quite messed up, and I'm wondering if the version Akane is saying is just the comedy version that Rakugo Cub adapted. Because as far as I know, all of their like this is a comedy based performance. Like they don't. It's not like with acting where there's dramas and comedies and dramedies out there. It's like generally all comedic performance. So I'm not sure if she's gonna how she would be able to make use of it because as far as I know Rakugoka don't tell dramas. I could be wrong about that, but as I'm not sure she's going to find a way to make tragedy funny, which would be kind of cool, or if she's going to actually just tell a really dramatic story and get a new kind of reaction.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that if she just told it like completely straight and see without trying to make people laugh and see if that actually does get a laugh because that's kind of like you've got a talent on your hand when you're not trying to be funny but you just get a laugh anyway.
Yeah, that is true. And I guess now that we're at the end of the actual true ending of the story, we can Blazing Boy. We can read through what you were saying before. Um, so yeah, like you said, like this is a very similar structure to other arcs we got where we meet a new Rakugoka and Akane learn something from them. I mean, we're still in the process of it, but yeah, that's basically how that's going to be happening. And yeah, I do think you're right. They did a good job explaining the story well enough to explain like why this story works the way it does, like the name being too long and drowning. But I also feel like I think this is supposed to be more like a children's story in a weird way, like a darker children's story, I guess, from the original. But then again, I guess a lot of children's stories were like dark in the original taking, but then got Disney.
Yeah, like the Little Mermaid. That's a dark tragic tale. And like did you ever see the Disney film The Fox and the Hound?
No, but I've heard of it.
All right, yeah, the book that's based on is like that book said it is super messed up.
Okay. Yeah, and like a lot of fairy tales have like darker endings. So I'm guessing this is just like one of those children's stories. So I think the fact that they explained it well is good because obviously stories need to be able to convey that. But at the same time, I don't think this is a hard story to explain if it is a children's story. So I just wanted to bring that up from what you said.
No, but I will give it one credit that this chapter did do. No flashback. Well, only a tiny little one.
That's true, but I'm gonna be honest. I brought it up one time just because it was a little much, but I don't think necessarily the series is gonna do that a lot. Hopefully,
Okay, I had to bring it up because you brought it up that one time.
I'm surprised it stuck with you because it like I haven't even thought about that usually because it's not like
Okay.
flashbacks are necessarily a bad thing. It's just that when they're in excess, that's when I really start to notice that because like I remember this one story in high school I read for an English class. Like there were a lot of things I didn't like about it. I mean, first of all, I took it because it was a fantasy story, and I'm like, cool, I like fantasy, but it was like a kind of a very low stakes fantasy story for one thing, and I wasn't used to that. And the second thing is the story had so many flashbacks that I'm like, okay, it's hard to appreciate the story of what's happening to the character, and most of the story is stuff about things that have happened well before the character is even there.
That's fair. That's fair.
But
Uh,
yeah, it's a side thing. Ever since then, I hated just excessive flashbacks because I feel like you got to tell me the story that's happening more than the story that has happened.
yeah, I feel like that might be an issue when you read One Piece.
I mean, I might be a little less of an issue in One Piece just because I think One Piece still has enough going on that I'll still be able to appreciate what's happening. But we'll see when I get there.
Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, continuing on with the chapter where we have Arnie-san saying like Jujemu was originally an ironic story about how you can have too much of a good thing, and this is where Connie feels like, oh, she never knew that. And he says, oh wait, you didn't do the research. Aren't you interested in Rakugo stories? Do you want to understand them better? What you're doing? And I like that because that shows that again Akari still has something to learn as well, because it's one thing to actually just say like, oh, just do this story, but unless you actually like look at it and do the research on it, you aren't truly going to appreciate it, and therefore bring something unique to the table.
Yeah, and I think I also like that. I think that's a great way to bring this character and his new perspective. I think what I didn't like as much is was the next page when it was like when you repeat the name, it's just sound, not words. That's my advice. Think hard on what it means and blah blah blah. It's really hard, and I'm just like, okay. I mean, I'm pretty sure that'll come to mean something very profound, but I'm just not a fan of when people give like a vague lesson and then the character's like, oh, and that's what you truly meant, and I'm just like, there's no reason for them not to just explain that most of the time.
Yeah, but I think it has something to do with what happened with the flashback we get on the next page, which is of Akani's dad and him.
Yeah. So I think you want to say something about that first. So you go ahead, then I'll say my stuff.
Yeah, so I feel like this is kind of like what why he is the way he is, and why he's like no, I just don't want to trade it. But also I feel like her father um was sort of like encouraging him to go to I feel like he kind of like had the similar ideology as as a Kane, in terms of like, I'm just gonna be a Rakugo. I don't care about university or anything like that. I just want to be a Rakugo and look up to I guess he was before Akane was born. Before Akane was old enough. I don't want to say born because he's only um, like
29.
29. Yeah, 12 years older than her. So maybe when just after Akane was born, because it
Wait,
depends.
actually, because wait, hang on. Sorry, I'm gonna do some math real quick. Because he's been training for 11 years in Rakugo. I'm assuming that might count his time in university because he was in a club. I'm not sure, but assuming that's true because he's and started like when he was like 19 or 18, then that would mean that he's been training since Akane was a baby.
Oh wait, I've just realised something. You know how
Oh,
Akane
not
in
a baby. Sorry, she's 16, so she would have still been just like little kid. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, you know what? You know how Akane was 10 years old in the first chapter.
Yeah, I was trying to ask how old was she because I was trying to do some math
She,
there
she
too.
was she was 10 years old.
Cool, cool. Okay,
So
10.
what if this takes place like around this time, and he had the same, he had a similar mind. I think he had a similar mindset of like, I don't care about my studies. I just wanna be a Rakugo or something like so a similar point around that time, like, and he saw how her father failed, and he was like, no, I'm just gonna focus on my studies now. He kind of like gave up after he failed.
I'm not sure I believe that just because we do know he went to Tokyo University, which again, like I said, was like one of the big schools in Japan. So I feel like I think you are right that he was probably much more optimistic and maybe a little more carefree than he is now, um, and may have like put in new efforts into Rakugo since. But I don't necessarily know if he like gave up on it because one, he's still performing now, and two, he went to a top school, and that doesn't really just happen by accident or even just over a few
Okay,
years.
okay,
So
fair enough, fair enough. But but as well, another thing I was gonna say was that yeah, I feel like because he saw Isho's face, that was probably why he was so open to helping her out, because he's like, yeah, I feel like I feel like he was unjustly kicked out as well. He
yeah,
probably
and I agree with
yeah.
yeah, I agree with that. But I will say, here's my other thing with this flashback, because I'm cool with him having a relationship or an admiration of Akane's father, because he obviously was his junior at one point, probably even got trained by him, right?
Yeah,
So that makes sense that like while he was Akane's father was raising Akane, in many ways he was also raising Koguma here. But if that was the case, I think it's just a little weird to me that he didn't help her out just because, oh, you're the daughter of the man I looked up to. I feel like there should be more of a connection in that sense because I don't think I'm pretty sure he knows.
yeah, he should know. But I feel like it's more. I feel like it's more of the fact that, um, like, you've seen the Legend of Korra, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah, I've seen the whole thing.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of the same thing that Toph had, not Toph, Lin had with Korra. Like, Lin was like, "Oh yeah, you may, yeah, Ang may have been friends with my mother in my past life, but what does that have to do with you?" I feel like it's kind of a similar thing. Like, he's kind of like, yeah, I may have been trained by be trained by your father, and may have looked up to him, but what can you do? Like, just because you're related doesn't mean it's like I'm automatically gonna accept you with open arms. I think that's kind of the philosophy he's going off with here.
Okay, I mean, I understand your train of thought there, although I would say the difference is one was a relationship between her mother in a past life versus this is his own relationship between a father and daughter. But at the same time, I understand what you're trying to say. Just because she's his daughter doesn't mean anything. But I feel like it should down the line.
It
That's just
should.
my opinion. And I feel like it's a little weird. It hasn't come up in any sort of capacity, but
It,
that's a side point. Like I said, it's a very minor thing, but I think that's another like nitpick I had for this particular chapter.
it's okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. But
And
yeah.
yeah, by the end, just like Blazing
Oh,
Boy was saying, we are watching Akane see like another one of the students perform, so she can learn from them, just like she did with Kyoji.
yeah, yeah. So we'll get into that point. We'll get into that position now. So we have Akane and Gilju going to watch his Rakugo performance, and it turns out that on stage he's a completely different person. He becomes a little bit more open minded and a little bit more enthusiastic about things as he gets ready to perform his Rakugo, and that's where the chapter ends. And yeah, pretty stark contrast from seeing his Aisawa face to like, okay, now I'm going to be totally serious now.
Yep. So I do like his look on stage. I will say, it's quite different, and I'm looking forward to his performance.
Yeah,
Because I do like how this series does teach me new things with Rakugo and with the different styles it can take with these different characters. So yeah, I'm definitely still looking forward to the series, even though I did mention I did find the chapter slightly underwhelming, but that's just because the series has set pretty high standards for itself in just like 13, 14
yeah,
chapters. So
I know. I can agree with that. And I mean, even the slightly low key chapters are still better than a lot
a
of
lot of series really bad chapters,
yeah, a lot of
or
series really
even
bad.
their average chapters, honestly.
Yeah, they're really average chapters. Yeah, so um saying that it's low key, that's like, would it's like low key by Akane standards.
Yep, exactly. So yeah, hopefully no one thinks I am starting to hate the series. I'm not. Still excited, and this is what I expected to happen. It's just like a few things in there. I think my only real concern going forward is like I said, the story is kind of hard to make funny to audience outside of Japan. But maybe they'll what Akane will learn will also help me appreciate the story more. So it could still be done, and I think that's what I'm really looking forward to. Because in
Yeah.
a weird way, maybe that's part of the thing with this chapter. Like it's supposed to be an underwhelming performance to give rise to a better performance,
Yeah,
and that would be cool.
and I feel like what he might teach you is the fact that don't say the whole name at once. Like spread it out, spread it out. So I feel like he'll do it sort of like I've got an idea for this name, Jujemu Osaki. Oh, that's good. Oh wait, I want to add something else to it. Jujemu Todoroki. Oh, okay, isn't that good? Oh, wait, I want to add something else to it. So, sort of like spreading out the name.
Yeah, and that could be a way to do it, like just how you deliver that. So yep, I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing that. But either way, Kanye was decent, and we can
Yeah,
move on to Yozakura.
yeah, let's get up Yozakura. Because I think we're unanimously agreed that this was chapter of the week.
Yeah, well, I do say that with the caveat of I've only read the chapters we were talking about so far. I have a
Yeah,
lot more to read later. So Sakamoto and Jujutsu Kaisen still have a very strong chance of surpassing this one. But still, it was a really good chapter.
yeah.
I'll say.
For me, it was chapter of the week just for the fact that although I think Scarred Hero is going to be Sacred Hero, Scarred Hero on Twitter is going to be like having a traumatic experience about this chapter, considering what it's about. Yeah. So yeah, starting off the chat, basically the whole chapter is, as the child explains, eldest brother family day of payback. It's all the paybacks that everyone is giving Korichiro. So yeah. So we have Futaba basically starting off by being a spoiled brat, by saying like, "Oh, Korichiro, can I have a potato chip?" And he's like, "Yes, oh, can you do the next page for me on this manga?" And I love the fact that Futaba, because she's the second sibling in the Yosako, has a T-shirt with the number 2 on it.
I didn't even realize, so you pointed that out. Good catch.
Oh my word! But it's gonna get even weirder when it later on in the chapter. So yeah, we have Tayo and Mutsumi being like, "Oh, what a sight! Well, today's is the day of Koricho making everything up to us." And Fruzva continues on by saying like, "Oh, even if you're doing this for our sakes, it's insane that you've lowered yourself to this level." And it is like, I bet Koricho is probably thinking like, "Oh, why did I even agree to this?"
Mm-hmm. And even he's like seems to have his limits when Futaba asks him for a foot massage. He's like, "Yeah, no, that's gonna get creepy, even by my standards."
Yeah, even by my standards. And she tries to hide this, like, "Oh, but I can't use my hands because they're broken." And it's like, yeah, are they really broken at this point, Fruits Bar, when you're snacking on a chocolate stick or whatever that thing is?
Yeah, I don't. I think it's a pokey stick.
The
But
pokey
yep,
stick. Yeah.
yep. And so then we see her then use her feet to do a kai training while she rests her hands, and Koichiro is getting caught up in it. And apparently, Tayo's. I don't know why I was surprised that Futaba's outfit is combat gear. I mean, that's how it works in manga and anime.
Well, I was surprised myself, so I can't really blame her. It's like, wait, that whole time the outfit that Futaba was wearing this whole time, that was combat gear?
I'm pretty sure all their outfits are combat based. Like Kengo's are like more disguise oriented. I'm sure Koichiro's like have something to do with
Yeah,
the
but here's
silk.
the thing. Here's the thing. She wears the outfit most of the time, even in the house.
Yeah, but I mean, think that's just a spy thing to be always prepared or whatever. So I'm not too surprised that was gone back here.
All right. So then we have Shinzo and Shion coming in and assessing the situation as we have Shinzo being the big brother that he is to Shion and carrying her like a black frog, as I think Tayo eloquently puts it. But it turns out that Shion was locked in a room so long that she was starting to turn dark and wilt. So Shinzo thought he'd give her a bit of sunlight because she's trying to do some coding. And Tayo compares Shion to a plant by questioning like, does she need sunlight because she's a plant? Well, considering Subumi's a tree, yeah. But yeah, we have Koichiro begging Shinzo to tap him, but he's like, "Nah, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at this point." And then we have Kengo coming in, being as expressive as always, as we see Koichiro's face in Keigo's. How can I word this? In Keigo's cheeks. There we go. There we go. And even that, and again, Koichiro is just like, this is the worst day of my life.
Yep. And hey, Danny Vio.
Hey, Danny. Hey, Danny Vio. Nice that you can join us.
Yep. So far, we talked about Ayashimon and Akane and Naruto Sakura.
Yeah. So continuing on. Koichiro's like, oh, okay, fine. To get out of this situation with Keigo, I'll soak my steel spider in oil and glide it across Keigo's skin with threadworks, and it'll make the most exquisite and turn it into the most exquisite fingertips ever for pure fluorescence, and skin cells will transport into basically healing Keigo from something. I don't know what it is.
I think it's just like stress or something. It's probably not. I think it's serious. And then Koichiro gets really fired up after that, saying, and he's like, "Who's next?
Don't be shy." And then it's probably the worst thing ever because we are because we have Nanano saying like, "Oh, I've got meds that I would like to try on you," and I think Koichiro's like, "Okay, that's fine." Mount Fujiwaki's for Goliath. Okay, that's a bit excessive. Let's play house together, and you're the baby with I. And he's probably thinking like, no, get me out of this situation.
I like how all three of them look so adorable in this picture.
Yeah. But you want to know what's funny? You want to know what's funny about this whole situation?
What's that?
You know how I've been saying for ages that Ayaka would be like, I want to be the baby for Mutsumi and Tayo so that they can learn what it's like to have a real kid.
Yeah, you had that whole
thing. Pretty much getting this now with Koichiro.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
We did not see that coming. Definitely when I looked at the next page with Koichiro acting like a baby, I was like, I don't know how to feel about this.
This again, this is probably what Sacred Hero is probably going to be the most traumatized about.
Yeah, but at the same time, now that you pointed out the 2 with Futaba, I understand now why there's a 1 on the bib with Koichiro.
Yes, I was gonna bring that up, and oh my god, yeah, Koichiro basically Koichiro, this is your punishment for putting I through mental torture training.
You know what? That is fair. So Koichiro gets through all that, and then I guess gets saved effectively by Mutsumi, who's like, okay, I'm going to put I to bed. So then Koichiro is pretty much done with his day of hard labor. And so then Mutsumi is like, and now in appreciation for your hard work today, I'll rub your shoulders for you. And she has like these gauntlets with spikes on them. Koichiro's like, I sense faint murderous intention.
You know what would be funny is if it was Tayo doing the massage.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. But
because
I
that
think
now,
it's actually funnier with Mutsumi because she looks so happy,
oh
and
my
you're like, oh man, after years of putting up with Koichiro, it's time for her revenge.
yeah. So basically, the stiffers because uh, because his shoulders are stiff as iron. This will make a good massage for him. But it turns out that they're so hard that it nearly breaks his neck. So much that he thinks he can see he thinks he can see Evan. But now we get into the serious part of the chapter, where we have Mutsumi, and I do like this because it's nice that we have a decent conversation between Mutsumi and Creature that doesn't immediately involve like, I am going to be so creepy around you, Mutsumi.
Yeah, if I do find this moment kind of nice because, in a way, like everyone was mad at Koichiro, but there's also an acknowledgement that if he didn't do what he did, they wouldn't have figured out what's going on. But
Yeah,
at the same time, Koichiro is surprisingly humble about it as well, because saying he
yeah.
just did all this for his family.
And it's nice that we actually see because because that's showing like he's kind of like, I feel like he's not going to be as creepy as he was before now from this point moving forward.
Yeah, that is what it feels like, which is nice to see.
Yeah, but then um, but then it turns out that because of the massage, Karicho actually falls asleep, which is a big deal because as Mutsumi brings it up, Karicho never sleeps, and he uses a special technique to keep himself awake almost all the time to protect them. So, do you think that's the reason why he's always got his eyes closed?
Oh, that's actually hilarious. No, I'm pretty sure that's just an artistic thing, but that is kind of funny when you say it like that.
Yeah. So she mentions like, if I want him to get to sleep, it requires a lot of work. And yeah, after the mental torment he's been through all day, I think he deserves a little break. um, but she says that that's exactly why we must all work together as a family. And it's because of the kind of person. It's because he's the kind of person who gives his all for his family, that they have to work hard to get to have him take a break. And yeah, and they like, oh, rest well, Karicho. So it's a nice moment there with the family. And again, I feel like this is going to be a big point moving forward because I feel like they're going to not rely as much on Karicho as they have been before.
Yep, which I think is a good thing, so you can see more of the characters develop.
Yeah. But of course, this being Yosako family and then being a family, it means that they get to do Jigglypuff's gag from Pokemon and graffiti his face.
Yep, which I will say was pretty funny and unexpected.
Yeah, and I love the fact that because they're like, oh, his eyes are closed all the time. They have to make it so that it looks as though his eyes are open.
Yep. I mean, at least this time he's actually asleep. But man, he must be really deep asleep to not feel this. I mean, of course, there's always that one chance he's just letting them do this because he's so
Probably,
bad. But I like to think he's just really knocked out.
probably, and then the Keigo was like, "Oh, it's okay if he sees this, we can say it was Tayo." And then Tayo's like, "I don't want to die for this."
Poor Tayo. Like next chapter, we're gonna see him strung up, and he's like, "No, it wasn't my fault." I mean, some of it was.
Yeah, but then the most suspicious part of the chapter is the ending of the chapter, the final panel, where we have a message from Momo, which says, "To my beloved Mutsumi." So, what do you think this message will actually be?
I mean, I don't think they want to rush anything, so I don't think it's going to be a meet me over here kind of thing because I feel like we're going to save that for later. But I feel like he instead is going to. I think he knows that his kids are going to come after him, obviously. So he's probably just going to try to buy time. So my guess is he's just cooked up something to keep them busy. And that's what this message is involved with. But that's kind of a random guess. I really don't know.
Yeah, I feel like my guess it might have something to do with the grandmother or something like that. Like he's probably thought like, wait a second, the grandmother's head of the Yosako family. Maybe I can use her or for something.
Oh yeah, that was a long running theory of ours. She still hasn't shown up yet.
Yeah,
So we have to figure out what's going on with her at some point.
yeah, and Ban as well.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah, that's I think it for the chapter effectively. So it
yeah,
looks like it was a nice cool down chapter, and I feel like we'll get more of that for a good while, and I think that's fine. I think
yeah,
this is like I said, the series is much better now as this chapter shows at balancing these slice of life moments, but still having some relevance to the story and characters, which it had struggled to do a lot in its first year or so. But now it's a couple years in, so it knows how to do it better.
yeah. Definitely, definitely. So yeah, that was Mission Yosako family, and um, so which one do you want? Because we've got Witch Watch, Ayakashi, Duran Duran, Undead Unlock, and My Hero left.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's quite a few still. Again, if anybody wants to suggest anything, feel free. But for my money, I think a fairly quick one to go over would be either Ayakashi or Duran Duran. Let's just do Ayakashi.
Okay, all right. So let me just get it all set up. Everything. Yeah, we've done that one. Yeah, and okay. So yeah, so back after its break, uh, and all I can say is like, you had one job. You had one job to make it the regular Suzu, and you go with Yayo.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. We were like, we can expect Suzu, but it's Yayo, which I mean, it's still fine as long as we get a Yayo chapter
Yeah,
like
which
later and her to get powers, but hasn't happened yet.
it hasn't happened yet. I feel like he's gonna wait until the 100 chapter mark for that.
Yeah, very possible.
Yeah, but it makes sense why Yayo is on the cover page now because because she actually does appear to start off the chapter with Shadow May. So it turns out that Shadow May's secret hideout is being taken over by hoodlums, and she's like, "I have to hide. I have to hide every time they come, but it's getting really annoying." And Yayo reckons like, "Oh, you didn't kill them," and Shadow May's like, "No, I've been very patient. Besides, I decided to destroy humanity only after I get the Ayakashi medium's body," and Yayo thinks like, oh, she's being weird again. But when she notices that Chalamet is studying the present and stuff, she mentions like that's kind of like what Matsuri would do in a way, and you guys might get pretty along. And Chalamet gets like a bit pouty about it. It's like, yeah, I'm not like that human in any way. But as it turns out, she is very much, despite being an Ayakashi, she's very much being influenced by humanity, as we'll see in this chapter.
Yep. Which I think it's kind of nice to have a Shadow May chapter after a while of just kind of treating her as a funny joke because she's
Yeah,
supposed to be like our main villain to an extent.
yeah, to an extent, but she's not really good at being the main villain in some capacities.
Yep, also true.
Yeah. Um, so we see her in her room, which is connected to this like abandoned building, which is later revealed that Garaku set this up with one of his abilities, and she's thinking about what Yayo said, and she's like, "Oh, nonsense! I only studied the present to break their bond before she." Here's the hoodlums coming, and she decides to hide away as the hoodlums are like, "Oh, this room's mad clean. Looks like we're drinking here tonight." And she's questioning like, why do I have to hide? Why do I have to hide like this? They remind me of those humans who used to look for me as a human sacrifice. So it's nice that we actually do get a little bit of a flashback to her to explain like why she is like this. A little bit of PTSD in a way.
Yeah, that is true. It was a nice touch because we sometimes forget about that aspect of her. I also do want to say that I get that they're supposed to like make these people who are like breaking into her house like bad guys, but as far as they know, nobody lives here.
Yeah,
So they didn't technically do anything wrong.
no, they didn't. And then the hoodlums hear something and Shadame hears something, and so she goes to investigate it, and it turns out it's Matsui who ends up uh, getting flustered by Shadow May in with her personality, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's probably no better way to say that.
Yeah. Even though I probably could say it, I just choose not. I just choose not to.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So we have Charlemagne question like, "Oh, how did you know I was here and what was going on?" And Matsuri feels like, "Oh yeah, you told me you were in trouble, you're in trouble, and everything." And Chalamet plays it off like, "Oh, you came here to stop me killing those guys." Makes sense. And an exorcist ninja is supposed to protect people from Ayakashi after all, but this is where but Matsuri feels like, oh, I had another reason. I used to think you and Suzu were separate beings that would just split off from her previous life and you had no connection to her current personality. But they were wrong, and they're reminded of when Suzu was a little girl. She had hatred towards humans like Shadow May does. So they finally realize that Shadow May and Suzu are pretty much one and the same, which in a sense they are. That can't be denied. And so Matsuri has come here to help her out, and it turns out that it's not just her. It's not just Matsuri that's helping out, but it's everyone that's helping Shadow May out. As we see, smoke manifests from nowhere, but it turns out that it's manifesting vapor that even humans can see, and try to induce nightmare fuel for the humans. As we see various Ayakashas just surround them, including Shirogane. And I love how Shirogane is just trying to be as creepy as possible, but they're just like, a fat cat!
Yep. And I mean, it is pretty funny, but at the same time, does make sense they didn't actually want to like hurt these guys because again, they didn't technically do anything wrong, and they're just people, not Ayakashi. So yeah, it kind of makes sense they just try to scare them away.
Yeah.
And then normal people would be scared by these goofy things because
they would.
they look silly, but for them, it's just like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah. So part of the trap is that okay? Suzu's like, okay, great job, great job, everyone. Matsui, Rochka. Oh my god, Rochka's in it. Like, as soon as I heard Rochka's name, I thought like, oh my god, something bad's gonna happen now. That's gonna get this chapter banned.
Yeah, at this point, I don't even know how they could do that anymore. I mean, it's not even in the weekly magazine. How much more do they want? But yeah, apparently they get scared because of snow fairies. But I think what surprises me with this chapter is like I always thought that there was like not everybody can see the Ayakashi, right? So like, how exactly did this work? Was it? I think it. Oh yeah, because of the vapor, right? Okay,
yeah, because
back up.
Yeah. So, because even normal
there's like a way established now for normal people to see Ayakashi, which means that technically, yes, you got where I was going with that.
Lucy.
Oh yeah, we can set this up for something.
Yeah. But you know what's gonna happen with her? She's gonna be like thinking like, is this some sort of TV show?
Oh no, it's just gonna be aliens. Which,
She'll try to justify it for as long as possible.
yeah, but I kind of want them to do it now because we have it this established, so it would be hilarious to see it done. And so, yeah, I think then we move on to Shadow May's house effectively being destroyed, but at least it's no longer had people breaking in, or so it seemed, until people like heard rumors about it being haunted, and then decided to come here to do YouTube videos. And eventually, they just demolished the whole house altogether.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, you know what, Shadow May, I kind of understand your distaste for humans.
Yeah, I kind of understand as well now. But uh, if uh, if Garoku can find you a new, I love the fact that when he says that he sounds like he's saying that to a pet that's been returned to the shelter, and he's like, "Don't worry, I'll find a home for you."
Yeah, that is a good way to put it. But yeah, that I thought this was a decent follow up to like our last arc because yeah, we know that sorry, what was her name? Kanade.
Yeah,
She learned a lesson about like what Matsuri wants and what he's like, and in turn, Matsuri learned more about Suzu and the nature of the Ayakashi medium. So we see that lesson extended here. So I'm just guessing that maybe with the next chapter, either we'll follow up with something from this chapter, either with more stuff with Shadow May, or maybe with the color pages anything to go by, maybe we'll finally get some development for our side characters.
maybe. Yeah, like particularly Lucy and Yayo, bring them more into the main focus.
Yeah, because like I just suggested ways we could do that, but I think we do need to get that at some point. So maybe that'll be next chapter.
Maybe, but we keep saying that. We keep saying that.
We
Like,
do. Oh, we also keep saying when is Nebu coming to the house. So I'm
yeah,
just
I know. As soon as I was thinking of that Witch Watch, I was just like, just put her in the house already.
yep. We can probably move on to Witch Watch then.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, yeah. Let's move on to Witch Watch. Um. All right. I've got it up. So, gotta say, love this color page. Not as good as last week's, but I still liked it a lot.
Yeah, I thought it was a decent chapter.
No, I was talking
But
about the color page.
oh, the color page.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
okay.
chapter
Yeah,
was
the color
decent
page.
as well.
Yeah, the color page last week was amazing. Like probably one of my favorites. But yeah, this one was just okay, especially
Yeah,
because I can't really tell what the words are.
you won't know what I think it is. Just like last chapter, how it deliberately left a space conveniently for Nemu's cat form. I feel because you see the word Amelias, so that's obviously familiars. I feel like it's good. I feel like behind there is 5 familiars.
Oh, okay. Interesting. It could be, but I don't. I don't. I'm not sure. And even when they translated this, I wonder how they translated it because obviously they covered up words then too.
Yeah,
But yeah, this chapter is basically a follow up from the last one.
yeah. So it pretty much continues from the last one with Nemu being the MC of this chapter. Pretty much. Pretty much it's the Nemu show again. So she's like figured out like, oh, Mori's under a curse, basically being friend zoned, and this is why he's never seen Nemu in a romantic way. And she reckons, oh, I've got to do something here. And then conveniently, Nemu goes is gonna go and stop by a mini mark and grab some food. So what a stroke of convenience. And she takes Mario with her, and she's like leaving Nemu along with Keigo and Kon, and there was like, okay, this is perfect. This is perfect. Right now, we need to talk about this, and she explains what's going on and everything. And Keigo and Kon are like, oh, but hang on, if that's really what it what it is, then wouldn't it make sense to just tell Nico and have her break the spell? And they're like, yay, we got a good plan. And but of course, Nemu thinks which it'll be that easy. And I love she's like I love just her sarcastic quip here, like, well, aren't you both the happy simpletons?
Yep, and that is pretty hilarious. I love that little back and forth.
Yeah.
I think I've mentioned this before, but I like how we slowly develop relationships between all, like, even the side characters, which this chapter actually digs into a little bit.
Yeah. I feel like if Nemo does come into the house, or when she comes into the house, she's gonna play the straight guy, sort of like how Mori does.
Yeah, I have a feeling she will too. Except
Yeah.
in like the weird moments where she has to be a cat or something, or be like hopelessly in love. But I will say this, like, next part that Nemu talks about is kind of what bugs me a little about this chapter. I mean, that's not the only thing, but uh, this one was that witches are forbidden from ever using their attacks, and this counts, even though she didn't mean it like that. The curse is tabooed, and it'll emotionally harm Nico if she finds out about it.
Yeah,
Okay, but like,
I was kind of
but
like, wait a minute, hasn't Nemu been using spells to attack before?
oh, I mean, that is a good point, but that's not where I was going. I was going with the fact that Nico's spells have caused all kinds of trouble for people. So it's like, why does this one count as a quote unquote attack? I
Yeah,
mean, if we're talking about even if just curses count as attack, not like even just offensive spells, or like the time she almost took out those kids who ripped out the letter from last time, because man, that was,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly.
But if even just cursing people counts, she's kind of cursed them unintentionally several times.
Yeah, yeah, she really has, which is why I think Nemu needs to get into the house to kind of keep Nico under control by saying, like, right, you're gonna have a limit on what spells you can use, Missy.
Wouldn't that be funny? Um, but yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so then they're like, okay, so we can't tell Nico. Then let's tell Morihito. Aha, if he knows it's a curse, he'll realize his emotions have been kept in check. And then they do the same joke
Yeah,
again.
to
They'll
the
get
point that
together.
Nemu's like, would you quit that?
Yeah. But and then the other thing I didn't like about this is they're saying it's like, oh, but if we tell him, it might not break it, which, that's fine. But then it's like its emotions will throw into chaos, and the feelings of the blossom may get snuffed out entirely. And I'm just like, wait, what? I feel like they're really trying to just push like the fact that we can't tell either character, but the justification's kind of weak,
Yeah,
to be honest. And like even when she was like, they'll tell a higher risk of Nico finding out. I'm like, yeah, sure, but you telling them puts a higher risk of Nico finding out.
yeah, yeah. That is kind of like just like the BS excuse to just not tell them.
Yeah, which I get, it's that kind of story, so it makes sense. But at the same time, I wish the series had better justifications for it. In any case, they realize they're stuck, but Nico still wants to help. Sorry, Namu still wants to help Nico because she's never had many friends, or especially other witch friends, apparently, which is a whole other thing to dig into because I don't know what her school life is like.
Yeah,
But
I feel like you know how I'm just gonna say it right now that you've brought that up. You know how Nico was worried that she might be an outcast in her school when she first started.
yeah,
I feel like that's what's happened to Nemu, and she's just keeping it under wraps. Like that, the school knows that she's a witch, and that's what's made her an outcast.
mm, I mean, it could be. But if it's true, I'd really like to see it.
Yeah, we'll probably get into it when we get a proper Nemu arc. Like maybe like Nemu's school will do a cultural festival, and she'll invite everyone, and she'll try to play up like, oh yeah, I have tons of friends here. But then it turns out like she's the bottom of the barrel.
Yep, it could
Yeah,
be.
yeah,
Continuing onwards, apparently, like the strategy they have is extremely basic and kind of cliche in and of itself, but at least this mechanically sort of makes more sense. Apparently, if he feels something, basically, if there's a friendship curse, if he feels something more than friendship, and the feelings keep growing, eventually the curse will break itself. And I'm just like, all right, that just sounds like normal.
Yeah,
Sounds like a
yeah,
normal way people develop romantic feelings for other people.
yeah. So basically, all they have to do is just keep saying like how romantic it must be for you and Nemu, Mori. So much that his feelings grow and it just explodes. But isn't that gonna be like more emotionally traumatic? Gonna throw his emotions more into chaos than just simply telling him.
Yep.
Yeah,
So, uh, but yeah, this is basically just the story trying to justify what it's already been doing, which, okay, whatever. Now there's at least plot reasons for all the shenanigans, I guess. And so the first plan is we have to figure out how Moy feels about Nico, so they have a way to start. And I love the panel we get on the next page. Nico
yeah,
just running back, screaming Nemu's name, and I'm just like, Nico, why are you so adorable?
I know. But also, Nemu, why are you so adorable?
Yes, also that.
Yeah. So it turns out that that Nico Nico has like I bet she has like a secret alarm somewhere that goes like they're talking about romance. They're talking about romance whenever she comes back into the house.
She made a spell for that.
Yeah, probably. She probably did at some point.
Yep. And anyway, so she's, I don't know, weirdly upset about them not discussing more with her. I don't know. It's weird. It is pretty weird. But anyway, then the funniest part is she asks everyone how Moy probably feels about her, and Khan is very hard, very struggling to keep the secret that they just said. He's like, "Oh, I mean, yeah, there might be something. It's almost like he's holding feelings back, and then he's just like, well, if only there was a spell that could tell us how he feels, huh?" And Nico's just like, yeah, of course there's one, because this is Witch Watch. There's a
Yeah,
spell for everything.
yeah. But I love that this is kind of like the what happens here is kind of like the opposite of what we've been saying. Like Nico knows, like, okay, this might be a bad spell to do, and I shouldn't do it right now, which is kind of strange because as soon as I figure out a spell I'm just going to use it anyway. But they're all like, no, do it right now. We'll allow this one time.
Yep, and I did find that funny because we always point out it's like, Nico, you need to learn your lesson. But this chapter is like, Nico's like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be so reckless with magic. It's like, no, Nico, this is not the time for character development. We need plot development.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. So apparently, what it is that Feelogram, not totally like Instagram, it's Feelogram. So you cast it on the person while they're looking at a diagram, and it'll be described their emotional attachment to you in the shape of a flower. So if the flower is blooming, so the flower is blooming exponentially, it means like, oh yeah, they're super attached to you. But if it's a simple friendship, an insect will appear, and they decide like, oh, let me practice it first. A picture of the other person counts. So let's just check what feelings I have towards Moe, and it turns out that a pink flower has bloomed with Khan and Nico. It's basically two happy bees happily buzzing around. So I guess they're kind of besties if they're two
Pretty
bees.
much.
Yeah.
Yep. And then Nico and Nemu, it's just like Ladybug Nico pesters Ladybug Nemu, but in Horley Night. So basically, it's like Tsundere and
Yeah.
stuff.
And then my my Mario it's dragonflies pester the living daylights out of Khan, who's buzzing off in a rage, but minutes later they're best friends.
which I think that's a callback to that chapter where Khan lost his umbrella and they went on an adventure and became good friends. So I
Yeah,
think that's a nice callback to that.
yeah,
Because like I said, what's nice about the spell, it's a nice way to establish some of the character dynamics that we have between all the characters. But also, I find the spell kind of lame compared to most of the
I
magic we
know,
had. I
I
mean, especially
know.
'cause, like Nico herself says, this is similar to a spell we've done before, but it's a lot more basic than that spell. But as Khan says, these spells of yours are always so random. It's almost like we're in a manga where the kid
Yes,
makes this
definitely.
up as he does every week. But yeah, so then Nico's about to cast it on Nemu to see how she feels about Keiko, but it's like, no, Nico, it's not the time to go into our ship yet.
Yeah, it's not the time to go into the Ayakashi ship between Keigo, Nemu, and Wolf. Even though technically she's frustrating over the same guy with different personality. Oh my god, can you imagine if this was Andy and Victor and Foucault?
Yeah, it's kind of like that, except Nemu actually has feelings for both Keigo and Wolf. So, well, Fuko just has feelings for Andy. But
Yeah,
anyway, so then Moy ends up coming home and Nico starts panicking. And then they're like, okay, here's the plan. I'll show you a picture. I'll show him a picture of you. And then you stand behind him and cast the spell, which I guess is pretty straightforward. And then
yeah,
they go to the backyard. Oh, also, I love the scenery art. Shirahara draws. And then they do their best to try to act casual, but they're all speaking like very
yeah,
awkwardly. Like, oh
yeah.
my,
The old
it sure is great to have snacks in this nice big yard of yours.
and Mo is just like completely clueless about this, even though he shouldn't be. He should be like, why are you guys acting like this?
I mean, he does feel like something's off because he's like, something's wrong. What's that odd look you've got? And then
Oh,
Khan's like, oh yeah, by the way, Morihito, I took a picture of Nico a minute ago. Want to see it? Great, here. He's just like, what? And we just see a regular picture of Nico he just has on his phone. So then Moy, of course, is super confused because he's like, what about this picture? And then, of course, at that moment, Nico just casts a spell. And for once, nothing technically goes wrong.
yeah, for once, finally, a spell works for once.
Yeah.
Um,
And then everyone's just staring at the plant. And at first, I wasn't expecting much, considering like all the other spells are pretty instantaneous. Um, and then they said something about hair swirl, fortune telling. I don't know what that's about. But anyway, so they're just waiting for a flower. But then instead, see caterpillars. And everyone's, including me, were confused what caterpillars has to mean. They were just caterpillars hanging out. Then she's like, it means pure friendship, acting to protect out of a sense of duty and obligation. And so everyone's bummed because it's like, man, this was our main ship. This is
yeah,
what she was riding on. There's no
no, no,
romance.
but no, this is the other saying. Forget about the Nemu. Forget about the Nico and Mori ship. The true ship here is Nemu, Wolf, and Keigo. That's the true
Well,
ship of That's the true main characters of Witch Watch.
yeah, I guess so. And so then everyone's kind of bummed. And then now Moy's taking notice of Nico looking upset. Um, so then Nico or Moy notices that Nico has his old note. And Nico says she didn't know that he put the pieces back together, but it was a very nice thing for him to do. So she thanks him. And then at that instant, we see something change with the plant. I didn't really see what it was at first, but then they zoomed in and saw it was a cocoon from the caterpillar. Although I thought there were two caterpillars, but I guess there's only one now, but whatever. Then the caterpillar turns into a butterfly. And I like the point that everyone's just staring at Moy, but he's just like, I don't know what's happening. I'm just treating this like it's normal. But everyone's just staring like right above his head, and he's just staring blankly back. And then a butterfly just appears, and he's just still unimpressed because he can't see this because it's above his head. Oh
Yeah,
man. And
yeah,
yeah, so then the giant butterfly appears, and Nico is just like, oh, geez, Moy, what are you trying to this friendship from me? And I'm just like, I don't know how you're so bashful about this. Does giant butterfly mean big friendship? I
I
don't
guess it
understand this
does.
spell.
I guess it does. I guess it
This
means
spell
just
is so
giant
weird.
fudge. Yeah,
Because like
but
Nico said, like with all these bugs mean slightly different things, but I they feel random.
yeah, but also as well, it apparently turns into a flower. So yeah, Moe does genuinely have feelings for Nemu, not Nemu, Nico. God, they have. Why do we have to have two female characters with end uh, with an N that starts their name? Um, but yeah, they're like, oh, they'll be just fine the way they are. It'll overflow on its own someday, and we'll watch over them until then. Yeah, you will when you get Nemu in the house.
Yep, and I guess this is the other watch of which watch
Yeah.
watching this romance. But yeah, basically, all this story really didn't really establish anything new other than from now on the characters will try to push more of a romance between these guys, not only because they want to see them together, but also because they need to do it in order to break this curse. So it's really just justifying shenanigans, which I didn't think was really necessary. But I will say at the same time, it's like an interesting aspect to the story, at least. So I'm not too mad about it. But it felt like, did we really need to do this?
Fair enough, fair enough. But I love the last little bits of the chapter where Mo is just like, "What are you all talking about?" And then we finally figure out, "Oh yeah, where was Mario this whole time?" And he was just having his afternoon nap.
Yep, because that's the thing he does, because he's a vampire.
Yeah,
So that was Witch Watch. So what do we have left?
we have Duran, My Hero, and Undead Unluck.
Okay, just those three.
Yeah,
Okay, let's see. Not super thrilled about any of them really, but I guess. I mean, let's do Duran Duran because we kind of skimmed over it last time, so I wanted to
yeah,
spend time on it this week. So because we didn't last time.
yeah. Fair enough. Um. So yeah, let me just go back. Okay. So yeah, I wasn't really feeling this chapter myself. I feel like it was things that we had seen before, and it was kind of a bit pointless.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things that I did kind of like from the chapter, and I think it did set up some interesting stuff by the end. But yeah, I can see what you mean. Like I think last chapter was kind of a boring setup, but at least I thought the follow through wasn't too bad, all things considered. But yeah, let's start talking about it. Chapter 23. I don't want to lose you, which yeah, very sweet title.
Very
Anyway, so
sweet.
then we see Dora sleeping and in a hotel because right now he and now Tora are on a patrol looking for um, I have to keep remembering the different monster names in every series we do.
Yeah,
Like, is it
Mo-
Ayashimon? Is it
Mononoke.
Ayashimon? It's Mononoke this time. What Japan? Why do you do this?
They do
Anyway,
it because they can.
yeah, they can. But yeah, so then now Tora's just standing there, just like, hey, you got to wake up. And I like how it's like a really creepy phase, but Dora's not even like bothered by it at all.
Yeah,
But
but
she's just
also
like, Kusanagi slipped out. We got to go after him.
yeah. But also, I was just gonna say, the fact that she's doing that creepy face on below the chapter title. I don't want to lose you.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Good. Yeah, that's a good thing you pointed
Yeah,
that out.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
yeah. We won't lose you now, Tor, in the same way we lost Jinchio.
Let's hope not. Anyway, so Dora's like slipped out. Where did he go? And what time? And she's like, and here's what I thought was kind of surprising for me because she said, I don't know, but if Kusanagi is colluding with other Mononoke to betray us, we'll have to eliminate him. And I was just like, no, Tora, how could you say this? I thought you were cool. And she's already here, like, okay, we're gonna have to kill Kusanagi if he's been betrayed. I'm like, why would you say these things? So I was kind
May-
of shocked by that. I'll be honest.
maybe that might be play into her backstory a lot more. Like she was probably friends with Morinoke beforehand and naively trusted him, and she betrayed and and they betrayed her to another Morinoke.
I mean, you had this. We seen another character who had this exact story, though. So
Oh
besides
yeah,
Dora.
good
So I
point.
think doing it again would just get too redundant because it's like it's kind of like a story. It's like how many people are going to have dead parents or neglectful parents. So it's like we don't need more people. It's like I once had a Mononoke friend, but then it turns out he showed his true nature. It's like, okay, come on, we're not going to do this continuously. I do
Okay,
understand why she's saying it because I feel like she has like a duty to like exterminate Mononoke, and of course she's not as close with Kusanagi as Dora, but at the same time, I was surprised just how straightforward she was about like we have to eliminate him. Like I thought they developed at least some friendship where she would hesitate a bit, but nah, she doesn't at all. And Dora, of course, is like, nah, that's dumb. There's no way that's what happened.
yeah,
And it's like, for once, Dora, you are correct.
yeah. For one story, you are correct. So
Anyways, then Kusanagi, we see him at the park with the Dosan, and um, apparently he's talking about some Mononoke that's attacking a lot of humans, which of course was him. And then he just attacks Kusanagi, and uh, I'm just like, okay, this was an obvious setup. I don't like last time. I was kind of worried about this being just like a really obvious setup that Kusanagi just fell for, but maybe there's like a trick behind it. And I thought maybe with Naotora showing up, like she was in on it or something. But now that we've seen it, it's just like now Kusanagi was just being really dumb.
yeah, well, I wouldn't say dumb because it does say in the later on in the chapter that no, you're not dumb. You're just stupidly naive.
Yeah, that's true. I guess for me it's kind of similar, but fair enough. Yeah, so then he was told to capture Kusanagi by probably Kanbei, and then Kusanagi realizes that Dosan was the one behind all these incidents, and I'm just like, wait, because based on the first top panel, he's remembered that the corpse looked a lot like his friend who got his energy drained by Dosan, and I'm just like, you couldn't have put that together sooner.
I guess not. I guess he was just too blinded by the fact that Dosan was there to even consider it.
I guess so, but apparently Dora showed up at a convenient time, like right before Kusanagi was about to get destroyed, and then he's like outside the bar screaming at Dosan to let Kusanagi go, and Dosan like realizes that this must be Kusanagi's partner he was told about. And Naotora is about to go all Kenpachi on Dosan until he's like, don't move, or Kusanagi gets it. And I'm surprised that actually stopped Naotora, because I thought for a second like the route she was going to go this chapter was just that, oh well, I have to destroy Mononoke no matter what or something. But luckily she's more sane than I gave her credit for.
Yeah, I guess it's more to do with just like it's like you said, it's probably like a duty duty instinct,
Wait, what instinct?
like dutiful instinct, because she's
Oh,
still a samurai officer.
yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
But anyway, so then she continues to say, like, well, if we do what it says, it'll take us all out. And she's again insisting that Kusanagi is in cahoots with that thing. Um, but Dora gives the whole speech of trust Kusanagi you've seen up till now. He's absolutely our friend. And I'm just like, okay, so power of friendship again is coming
yeah.
into play.
As always,
Yep, as
um,
always.
yeah. So we have oh, can you carry on for a second?
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So then we see Dosan saying, "It's like, hey, not to interrupt your
Uh,
fight, but
yeah, I'll just be back in a second. Just bear with me.
yeah, that's fine. I can keep going." So then Dosan says, "Hey, not to interrupt your fight, but toss over your sword." And Dora at this point is very like, "Man, why do I keep doing the Shonen thing of just screaming as soon as I want to see something?" Because attacking him from a sneak attack would have been way smarter. And then he immediately thinks about he could have went for his blind spot, and that gives him an idea. And so now Tora, he has now Tora for her katana, and Dora is about to throw the katana right above him, and he of course gives a huge throw because Dora's crazy strong. And then like immediately, as soon as the sword is above Dosan's head, Dora screams to Kusanagi to become a fan, which then blocks the vision, and Dozan immediately figures out what they're trying to go for. However, I will say I enjoyed this part of the chapter because I thought that one of Kusanagi's most unique attributes is the fact that he can turn into other objects. And a way to win fights creatively in this series to make it stand out more is for Kusanagi to take on other forms. So I am glad it happened in this chapter, even though the chapter has its issues with Dosan being an obvious bad guy and some cliche friendship speeches. At least we're starting to see more of that creative fighting style. Anyway, so then this, as soon as Dozan looks over to try to look for Dora, should be, he's not here, he's not there, and then he immediately grabs on to Kusanagi and merges with him, which gives him his like crazy amounts of supernatural energy, which punches Dosan like clean off his face. And even Dosan is surprised by the amount of energy. So I think in terms of pure power, Dora probably has what it takes to take out Dosan. So he needs to come up with a strategy to win, which in this case is what he executes right before Naotora is about to chop him in half. So Dosan instigates like a fog, which is apparently his supernatural technique. Allows him to use his supernatural energy to create a fog that hides him, but also summons Mononoke that he is eaten, apparently. So it's an interesting ability because now we have to fight not just Dosan, but a bunch of other strong Mononoke that he's taken.
Yeah, and I've returned now.
Yep, that's it. I'm on page 15.
Yeah, I'm on that page as well. But yeah, I love the fact I love the fact that it's we've got kind of like we're probably going to get like a proper fight with just Naotora on her own at this point.
Yep, and I think that'll be nice to see. So we can like just like we had with Yuji at one point in the last arc, we can have one for Naotora. And she should have a pretty easy time with this. I'm not too worried about her.
Yeah, I'm not either. But it just depends how strong this Mononoke is.
I mean, considering like Yuji had such an easy time taking out like 3 of them, and Naotora, it probably is not as strong as Yuji, but at least in the same rank. I don't think this one is going to be that tough for her. I'm assuming. Okay. It would be weird for this Mononoke to like overpower her and then be like, man, this is kind of like I don't know. I don't know if that's I would like that or not.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, it's true. Anyway, so then Kusanagi apologized the next page for sneaking off, for walking into a trap, a really obvious trap. And Dora is also mad at him, just like I am. And then Dora says, I don't want to lose you either, Kusanagi, talking about that flashback where Kusanagi says he didn't want to lose Dora when Dora lost his cool in a fight. And like you said, this is the part where Dora says, "You're not stupid, Kusanagi. You're just stupidly kind."
Yeah, which could be the basis for about half of Shonen protagonists.
Yep, but I also find kind of weird is that the next panel after he apologizes to Dora, the Dosan, I'm assuming, says, "Kusanagi, how dare you trick me? I told you to come alone, but you brought a samurai." And I'm just like, what do you mean he tricked you? You're the one who tricked him first. Why are you mad?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of like Finland logic there. It's like I'm not gonna state the obvious here. I'm just gonna see it as like the way I want to see it.
Apparently, which is like it's okay for me to do bad things, but not okay for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically Dora gets really ticked off at Dosan. And is basically we just get a lot of cool panels of Dora getting really mad, and so then Dora asks him, "It's like Kusanagi, seems like you know this Mononoke. Are you okay fighting it?" And I'm like, "Why would he not be okay fighting it? He almost destroyed him."
Yeah, definitely. So
it's just like, no, Dora, I can't destroy him. He's my friend. It's like, what do you mean? He tried to eat you. I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah. So yeah, they're getting ready to fight and possibly defeat Dosan, and yeah, that's where the chapter ends. So looks like we're heading into two big fights coming up with um, Naruto versus Congo and Dawson versus Doran and Kusanagi.
Yep. And I think what the chapter was trying to do was set up this meaningful fight for Kusanagi to get over his past and whatnot. But I think the setup was pretty weak, all things considered.
Yeah.
Because, like, one, we had, of course, like Kusanagi falling for an obvious trap. And then even the justification didn't seem much for me. And then Dora just kind of like getting through it with very typical shonen speeches. And then on top of that, we had Naotora, which surprisingly was being all business about, oh, maybe we can't trust Kusanagi, but just then immediately gets over that pretty quick, too. So
Yeah.
this setup for the fight was kind of weak, but I am kind of interested to see the technique used as we'll fight him next. And like I was saying while you left, we saw that Kusanagi is, with the author kept in mind that he can transform into other objects. So we might see some pretty creative fights in the future.
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel. Oh, you want to know what would be pretty cool is if because Dolson is an elephant Mononoke. What if Kusanagi transformed him into something resembling a mouse?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Like a mouse elephant thing. Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
No, I mean like Kusanagi transforms himself into a mouse
No,
to
no,
go
I
up.
got it.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
all right.
yeah, no, and yeah, that makes sense. That'd be kind of funny.
Yeah. But again, segment where's Jinchio in all of this? Cause she's on the cover for the pay. She's on the cover of Fizz. So where is she now?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny just because like even like there are other series like Jujutsu Kaisen where like the main female lead hasn't been seen for a while, and everyone's wondering, okay, so she's not actually dead or anything, right? Because like the last time we saw that character, it looked like she had passed away. But then it's like, nah, people like she was gonna get healed and everything, so she should be fine. But we haven't seen her in so long. It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
So with Chio, it's some similar situation.
Yeah. But yeah, that was Duran Duran. So I guess which one do you want to say for last?
Yeah, I'd say we can. I think My Hero, there's like a little more going on, so we can just do Undead Unluck next.
Okay. All right. So yeah, because this pretty much is the end of, like, how we were saying like, oh yeah, they're gonna come back in the next loop, Rip and Latia. Yeah, they are, but they're not going to be the same. So I think this is the end of this version of Rip and Latia.
Yeah, which I mean, the chapter wants to make a big deal of. Like, we start off the chapter with a flashback of them going over their plans with the other members of Under, saying it's like, yeah, I'm going to use the Arc. I'm going to get someone else to do the surgery. And then I also like how he says under my instructions, because it's like only I'm smart enough to be able to do this complex surgery, but whatever. So then that was the plan. And then they're like, but how are we going to stop Ragnarok? And Rip really doesn't care about Ragnarok. He's just like,
Yeah.
as long as I can save the person I love, then I don't care.
My question is, say they go through the loop and everything. What is the possible? I know this might not happen because of the way of it just being a loop. But what if like every time someone goes through the loop, someone that had the power before doesn't have it then?
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
So
And
like
the
maybe
weird thing is the way we were shown the loops before, because we have seen other versions of Union in past timelines briefly, is that it seemed to be the same characters every time. So maybe there's certain things that are constant between loops. I'm not too sure. Because like the weird thing is if there are constants, you would think that Juice would know more about which like Umas were gonna come and the best way to beat them, and a lot of other things that would make sense in time loop stories.
You'd think that June would know about Rip, and
Right.
Latia, and what their whole situation is, and be like, oh, by the way, this guy has this ability, and he lost someone he loved because of it.
Yeah, and that is a very good point, and I don't have a good answer for that. Because I don't think the author necessarily has much of an answer for it either. Because it feels like people should have like memories retained for
Yeah.
things. But all the same, we kind of the next image we see Andy with like a Superman kind of pose, and that's kind of done on purpose, as we'll see near the end of the chapter.
Oh yeah, definitely. So yeah,
He puts Latila next to Rip, like both of them effectively just dying right now.
yeah.
And
Uh,
Rip is saying, "It's hopeless. I know what you're thinking. You're going to try to fix everything in the next loop." And basically, he's just saying, "You're going to be friends with everybody and then get the good ending." And I'm like, listen, I get this is a video game, but you're kind of taking away from the moment by calling using these video game
oh
references.
yeah, definitely, definitely
So
he
you're going to
is.
reload the save file and make different character decisions to get unlock the best ending. It's like, God damn it, Rip, we're trying to be sad right now.
Yeah.
Like
Uh,
I've seen a lot of people like who really do enjoy this chapter, and I'm glad for people who like really got emotional resolution for this. But I think there are certain things that happen here, and also have just happened in the past that take it away from me for a bit.
yeah, like for example, this is all gonna mean nothing because Rip's gonna come back, but he's not gonna be the same character he was.
Yeah, which I mean, like I'm not. Let's see, that's how to phrase this. Yeah, I kind of expected that, as long not just for Rip and Latila, but probably a bunch of other characters too, like Gina, for instance. She'll probably be a bit different now, and
Well,
who knows? About,
here's a question. If Gina's gonna come back, right? What's gonna happen to some of the other union members, like oh, what's the name of Unmove
yeah,
again?
I think you're talking about Chikara.
Chikara, yeah. What's gonna happen to him? Because they got the slot for the 11th member, but then since we're gonna have the 10 members, and if Gene is gonna be alive, then that's gonna be the 11 members. What's gonna happen to him?
I mean, the weird thing is, Rip did say he wants to join Andy in the next loop. So I feel like they're gonna have to just reformat the rules of Union,
Yeah.
probably in general,
Oh my
because
god. I've just thought of something. You remember that Saw parody chapter in Witch Watch? Are we going to get that with Undead and Luck when they're sitting around with Apocalypse and be like, okay, let's go through your rules right now, mister?
oh, that would be kind of funny. But yeah, I don't know. But anyway, continuing on with the chapter, Rip is basically just crying, like saying, "You can't pull this off because and where you're aiming for is impossible." And like he basically doesn't believe he can save Lila because he knows how much he loves her, and so therefore there's no way Andy's going to be able to stop him from performing surgery because he is a stranger. They don't know each other, so why would he listen to him? And I'm like, okay, that's at least a somewhat fair answer. But I think what doesn't change it much for me is because uh, the way Andy convinces him is just him saying, "I will change them. If I couldn't, there'd be no point in taking the loop." And also because this is a shonen story, so of course he's going to be able to somehow. So
Yeah.
the whole, so it's not less like, oh man, how is Andy going to do it? Because it's like he's going to do it some way. That's not really important. It's probably going to be some kind of sappy speech about love or something. So I'm not like too excited by like this solution to. It's like, how are you going to save us? It's like, yeah, shonen logic, presumably. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And that's kind of
yeah,
like the thing I'm like a bit like, oh, I really couldn't care. I really couldn't care.
yeah. And I mean, like Latila just tells him the details of when the surgery was happening, um, and then Andy just kind of leaves them to die effectively. And then apparently, like here we learned that Lucy, her big help was that she pulled out the card in Andy's head. So that was her big contribution to this fight. Um, And then Lucy's asking about how to save her mom, but of course, like there's probably no way to actually save her. So Andy basically saying, Lucy, Rip, Latula, have faith and wait for me, is basically him saying, yeah, this version of you guys are doomed. So I'm just going to go into a loop and save you all. So that's kind of the thing with this timeline right now. Basically, Andy's sacrificing everything and everyone for the sake of a second chance to just get everything right. Um, so, and that's kind of what I expected, and that's not a bad thing, but it's just nothing new in terms of what we're learning. And
Yeah,
like the whole thing is just like have faith in me, but like based on what, I don't know, the whole believe in me thing is just kind of boring. And but the way they try to tie it in emotionally is with Layla's speech of "Forget about me, use your hands to save the lives of many." And this is when Rip, ah man, I can't believe I'm about to say this. This is when Rip like acknowledges Andy as like a hero, as a better hero than him, who's saving everybody. Ah man, I can't believe I just said that.
well, did you really want Rip to be like the true hero of the story?
No, I know he's all the anti-hero of the story, which normally is what I prefer, but it's just, I mean, the Superman imagery, the whole believe in me thing. I don't know, just so cliche. It just kind of, for
Yeah,
me.
I wonder how
Disappointing.
One Smart is gonna justify this chapter.
I mean, I don't necessarily know if people like need justification because I feel like a lot of what I was reading, like I was in the Project Manga server, which I usually do after reading these chapters, and like a lot of people just really enjoyed like how the emotional beats were hitting them, or how the art works, or how, and one person even said like Rip is one of the best written characters for them, and so I
Really?
mean, yeah, apparently, I mean, to be fair, at least they fleshed him out. I'm not too interested in him even after all the fleshing out, but uh, at the yeah. So that was Rip, and so people do. There are people who will like what they see here, and I don't hate it. It's just nothing that interesting to me. I mean, it's a guy who lost his loved one, willing to do anything for her, and now leaving it in the hands of the protagonist to carry everyone's dreams. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's pretty pretty much hit the nail on the head there. Yeah. So we have Andy leaving on his motorcycle. Leave about leave behind the girl that you made a connection with Lucy to go after your true girl, Andy. Good
Yep.
for you, good for you. So we basically again have Latia and Rip on the floor essentially dying, and they're like, oh, so in the end it was all for nothing. And they're like, oh, was it? We actually trust the task to him. If you hadn't decided to fight him, we would have never met those two. I am certain your efforts are going to help change fate. And it's like, oh, it wasn't all me. Let's say you were there. So basically, kind of acknowledging that, yeah, they love each other to the bitter end.
Yep. And I mean, again, reading the even the comments on the Manga Plus app, I think a lot of this will come down to how invested you are in the characters. And if you are, I think this will hit hard. But for me, I really didn't care for this particular ship, or or even the characters themselves. I mean, I did like Rip to a large extent, but even as a character, I didn't find him that compelling.
Yeah, and I didn't either. I mean, if it was Shin that was going through all
Yeah,
of
like when we
this,
had Shin's whole thing with him almost dying, then I felt stuff. But uh, with Rip, I'm just like, oh, okay, cool. And
uh,
also the other thing is, of course, there's another loop. So it's like, yeah, this version of them are dead and they won't have the memory, so they're kind of effectively dead. But that also, for the sake of a story, it's going to be counted as a happy ending. So it doesn't really mean that much.
yeah, yeah. Um, so we have to round out the chapter. We have Andy reaching his next destination, which is this like where the round table is?
Um, the round table is that's a good question. Actually, I'm not sure because Nico might have it.
Yeah,
Actually, yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
mm, yeah. Yeah, I don't even know where this is, so can't really say anything on it. So yeah, that was Undead Unluck, and I guess now we can move on to talking about the last chapter, My Hero Academia.
Yep. Yeah, because next time on Undead Unluck, we're just gonna have more continuation of this, and Andy's gonna basically just try to confront um what is his name? Ruin? Yeah, Ruin.
Ruin, yeah.
And and Seal, and just basically get to Ghost, save Fuko, get Fuko on the arc somehow. That's basically what's gonna happen.
Yeah. So with My Hero Academia this week, I've got to say, love the color page with Todoroki, and I love how the coloring on My Hero Academia does like his color scheme, so like the blue and the red.
Yeah, Todoroki does look nice.
Yeah, pretty nice chapter. So yeah, we have basically the confirmation for to give context, this whole chapter, most of this chapter is just basically everyone saying, Darby's down, he did it, Darby's down.
Yeah, and I think the point of this chapter is just more like, what do we have left now that Dabi is dealt with? I think that's all this chapter was effectively doing, because
Yeah,
like you said, they're just telling everybody to fight Dabi, and also they try to hype up, because we see after Dabi is down on the first page, and they talk about finishing off everybody, all the Nomus that are still here in the area. They mention it's like, man, we got lucky that we aren't dealing with those escapees. Those guys would have been tough to deal with. That's just to hype them up for the other fights effectively. Because we were talking about how, like, okay, so it's left Toga and All for One and maybe Spinner
and Shigaraki as well.
and Shigaraki.
And that's it.
But then this chapter, what it does is it also expands the roster a little bit more, as we'll see with those escapees that they talked about.
I get the feeling that that Horikoshi, when he said like, "Oh yeah, we've only got a year left," but then when he kind of like worked it out based on when he was writing the Derby fight, he realized, "Oh wait, it's not actually going to make it to the end of the year. It's actually going to end earlier at that rate." So I feel like he's done this deliberately just to pad it out.
Probably because after they talk about the escapees and All Might delivers the news to everybody, then we see Then we see Mina and her fight going on. Apparently, Mineta and some of their other classmates from Class B, who I don't remember, are there with her. And then while they're cheering him out, Lady's like super happy about it, which I did find kind of funny because she had like a weird relationship with Todoroki. But we see the guy who I guess is implied to have done in Midnight, is basically the one they're dealing with, is the main villain of where Mina's at.
Yeah. Also, I'm just going to say one thing that shocked me in this chapter: Mineta in a fight.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he can fight, but I'm not sure how much we'll see.
I know, but it's more fun to be shocked by that.
Oh, okay, fair enough. But yeah, anyway, so then this guy goes on about something about what the hero's resources were wasted on, blah blah blah, and then Mina, I guess, catches that this guy is probably the one who took out Midnight, and then we see Kirishima coming in saying escort's mission's done. So I think that might become important. It's like Kirishima had escorted somebody somewhere.
Yeah, but also as well, I'm just going to say about this panel, about this page with Mina and Kirishima. This has, you know how they're trying to make it out with Todoroki in the last chapter, where it's like, oh, all of Class 1A have been behind me and all of that, and trying to show off everyone. This actually has an impact because we know Mina's history with Kirishima. And possible love interest as well.
Yeah, and actually, I'm glad you brought that up because I think that's what this fight will deal with, them finalizing their relationship with this fight. So I think that's what's going to happen here. Like they're going to quote unquote get revenge for Midnight, which again, I liked Midnight a lot, especially because I learned a lot more about her with Vigilantes. But the way she went out was very off screen and anticlimactic.
That I've got to say that must suck for anybody who was who reads Vigilantes before reading the main story and thinking like, oh yeah, Midnight's such an awesome character, and see her done dirty like that. That must suck big time.
I mean, I think Vigilantes expands on a lot of characters that just didn't get enough time. Like even uh, Ida's brother gets a little more time in Vigilantes through a mini arc. So it's just really about expanding characters in general. But yeah, I do think Midnight was definitely one of those characters that got more than most, even in Vigilante. So you are right; it does kind of suck. But at the same time, it's not like Midnight was ever any one of my favorite characters.
Fair enough, fair enough. And yeah,
But yeah, I think they'll just go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead. I was just about to move on, but if you had something else to
Oh
say,
yeah, I was just gonna say. So I'm pretty sure they're just gonna use Midnight as just like the we got revenge for our teacher and now we're in love somehow. I think that's just basically what this fight's gonna be.
well, here's the thing. Here's the thing that as well, their names both have a color in it, like their hero names. So we have Mina with Pinky and Kirishima with Red Riot.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, that just fits too well. So yeah, Valentine's Day colors.
Oh my god! Yeah, I just realised that now that you brought up they are Valentine's Day colours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, good for you, Horikoshi. You're going to be able to get that ship dealt with, and then we see more characters get excited about Todoroki. I'm not sure what they're trying to do with Zero here. His ... I'm not sure what that's up with, but it might be important. So I'm just pointing it out.
Oh my god!
And
Don't tell me Cyril's a traitor.
I'm hoping not. We already did this. I don't need another traitor, especially when it's like, Sarah, you, the character we spent so much time with, man, I don't have time for this. It's like, okay, and then we get Bakugo. I guess his big thing is he used Todoroki's name instead of saying half and half.
Yeah, I know. But that's kind of been a thing that's been happening recently with Bakugo. He's sort of becoming more social rather than being like the straight up, I am the hothead of the series.
Yeah, which is nice to see. But I think that's the only reason they just brought him there. It's like, yeah, see, Bakugo has developed. He now considers Todoroki a friend. But yeah, so then we get to Fat Gum, and I'm blanking on his name. The flashy guy, the trader.
Ayama.
Ayama, thanks. Yeah, Fat Gum and Ayama basically here, and I like how this guy himself, almost like as a Horikoshi's like, yeah, guys, I get it. He's pointing himself like, yeah, we are the dredges. We're like the side villains in this whole fight. And then it's like, so what? And then he's like, you guys had barely any plan to deal with us. Is it because you just trusted in each other and hoped? And I'm just like, okay, I get this. I feel like this is just Horikoshi just kind of making flight and fun of the situations. Like, yeah, I didn't really have much of a plan here. So I just kind of threw them to the side, but it's okay because they're going to be cool guys, I promise. I mean, this guy's literally just like the way he talks. He's just like, I coat this planet like an oppressive membrane.
Yeah.
Which even Fat Gum makes fun of in the next page. So I'm just like, am I supposed to take any of this seriously? Because I really don't.
Why are you some kind of alien?
Mm-hmm. I mean, like the big thing they're trying to say is since Ayoma had betrayed All for One, he's now has a target on his back. And so all the assassins are going to come after him. And I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. That's fine, I guess. I'm not sure. I doubt they're going to go the sacrifice route at this point. So I'm not particularly worried about it. This is just like a random fodder fight, but it's going to be used just as Ioma's like reformation.
Reforming. Redeeming. That was the word you're probably.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Redeeming fight. Basically, it's just like, yeah, I'm gonna stand on my own 2 feet and live with consequences or something. I don't know. That's basically what this fight is going to boil down to. I don't really care for this character, this Kunita. I'll probably forget his name next time.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, we cut over to present Mike, who's relaying everything of like, oh, Shoto took Dobby down and Shin, oh, what's his face? What's his face?
Oh, this
Shi
guy starts with an S. Yeah, I want to say Shinji, but I'm not sure if that's his
Shinji,
name.
I think so. Yeah. So he's like, he
Let's look him
says,
up.
"Oh, it was a
Because I
cruel. It
remember
was
his hero name's like Tentacruel or something like that.
yeah, tentacle. I'll just use that. So we have tentacle saying like, uh, Shoji. That was it. That was it. I remembered it.
Yeah,
So we have
Shoji. Yep, I just found it.
Shoji saying, "Oh, it was a cruel duty placed on him, but but he still, but he stood tall and faced it and faced it anyway." As we see, Spinner in complete denial about it all, saying like, "Oh, there's no way, Darby lost. There's got to be information warfare." Yeah, something like that. Just basically like they're just saying this just to lower our morale before we get a flashback with Dobby and Spinner with him saying like, oh, he's always had everything, a reason to live, on, a goal, power to. Things I lacked. His convictions could never fail him, right? And he's saying, "Oh, they've locked up Kurogiri, but we're taking him back in order to destroy the status quo for Shigaraki's sake, for our sake, to dismantle it." Basically saying what I think at the end of the series is going to become apparent, like the status quo is going to get abolished.
Yep, and that'll be interesting to see. But I will say Spinner's whole thing was probably the most interesting thing for this chapter for me, because the relationships between the different League of Villain members are probably one of my favorite things in the series. So just kind of exploring that a little bit more was nice to see right here, because the rest of the chapter, as we've been kind of like plowing through, is just everyone learning that Dobby fell, like Luke said at the beginning, and meeting some rather cringy escaped convicts that we're gonna have to deal with. Anyway, so then Shoji is just proud of Todoroki. We cut back to Ida and Todoroki, who are like exhausted from the fight, although I'm not really sure what Ida did in this fight. But he's there to help Todoroki at least.
Yeah, which again, that's apparent because they do have a connection with each other, because Todoroki did go and save Ida's life when he was attacked by Stain.
Yep. I will say with the last panel with Dobby, I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. Like, is that him opening his eyes or something? You see, like on page 16?
Yeah, I think so. It looks like it. And it looks like he's smiling as well, if you look really closely at his mouth.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's about to do something. I'm a little unsure about that. So we'll have to
Yeah.
keep that in mind.
Yeah. I was looking at the
Sure what he can do,
panels.
but so.
Yeah, I was looking at the panels on the bottom panels where Ida goes, "You have nothing to apologize for," because you can clearly see a distinct smile on Dobby's face there. And it's I know what he's doing. I know what he's doing. Oh no. Oh, I think I know what he's doing. Because you see on that panel, if you look at his mouth on page 15, and then you go, and it's like his face is getting covered up. I think I know what's happening here.
Okay, what's happening?
It turns out that what if the big twist with Darby is that he wasn't a failure, and this is his ice powers, manifesting.
Oh, that would be interesting, actually. Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, because it
But we'll
does
have
look.
to see.
Because
And
if
also,
you look,
Ida needs to do something, so maybe
yeah,
he'll be useful here.
yeah, because if you look at it, that it does look like there's ice, like as it's something forming around his mouth, and it's not
Yeah, no,
fire,
I see it.
and it's not
Yeah,
fire.
after you said it, I get it. So
And
I think
also,
you could be right.
and that would make so much sense. Why? Because the whole thing with Darby is that he has a weak constitution, right? So
Yeah.
he can't use his flames all that too well. But how has he kept it in control all this time?
Oh, you're saying that maybe the ice was kind of keeping him alive, but
The
now
ice,
that
the ice was subconsciously, like he was subconsciously using like the ice abilities to kind of keep the flames at a manageable level without him overheating all that much, and he was not aware of it as well.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So then we kind of end the chapter with All for One basically just taunting Endeavor, saying it's like, oh, so what do you think about this? Like one son basically defeated another for your mistakes, and Hawks is trying to um, help Endeavor here by saying to not listen to him, but of course, like this is All for One, and his whole shtick is apparently to play mind games. But at the same time, I feel like I do like it when villains make fun of heroes and their ideals and stuff.
Yeah,
It is actually something I very much enjoy in villains because a lot of the times we display heroes as kind of funny, hilarious, almost to the point where any sensible person would do what a villain does and make fun of it. But when it comes from All for One, when he's saying heroes just have so much to protect, I'm just like, man, that just sounds just, I don't know. It doesn't sound as cool coming from you.
no, it
Although I
doesn't.
will say the last panel is kind of interesting because it looks like he's about to use multiple quirks at once. So hopefully we'll follow up and see some fighting from him. But I also think this chapter was to say that there's so many fights going on, we could focus on any one of them. Because
Yeah,
we didn't
yeah.
see Uraraka, if you think about it, in this
N-
chapter, or the Toga fight. And that's
no,
also happening.
that is happening as well. But quickly going back to the Dobby is using ice theory, because you'd figure after that blast from Todoroki, like yeah, something of that magnitude, even for Dobby, that would have like killed him. Killed him because it was basically like it was basically like a sheer cold, like absolute serial type ability that he used pretty much. Um, so I'm thinking like he's deliberately done this so that Endeavor can actually have a chance to have a conversation with Darby, but also fight him as well.
Hmm. I mean, it's a good idea. We'll see if we're right soon.
Yeah, yeah. But that is pretty much all I had on My Hero Academia. If you had anything else to say.
Not really. I think we're just going to see more fights as we go along, and I think Horikoshi has just found ways to extend the story.
Yeah,
Just as we were saying, it's like, man, looks like we're about to be over. It probably is about to be over, but maybe a little longer than we thought.
yeah, maybe we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, those were all the chapters, everyone. For anyone who watches this, coming back, looking back on it, we hope you guys enjoyed it. And as for moving forward, we're we're not sure if it will be next Sunday. We'll be doing the stream, or if it'll be at some other point. That's something we're gonna have to decide on because we both might be busy around that time. So just keep your heads up for it, guys, and we'll let you know. And we'll let you know as soon as they come. But until then, we'll see you later.